evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Beneath Your Skin. This is Gaia, still going crazy and still wanting to be an hellhound. And how are you doing, my dear?
Yeah, there's Zoe here, still hellhounding, still crazy. Don't know when the end is ever coming.
Today, we are going to talk and try to analyze. Try is the key word here. The movie The Nun. I have so many problems with that movie. It's not even fun. Literally, I had to stop the movie every 5 minutes because I had to rant and to write down my ranting because I didn't want to forget. I have this huge problem with the beginning of the movie because it doesn't make any sense. So we have two nuns walking through a corridor so nice that people, you want to go and spend your holiday in that corridor because it's literally, it fills you with so many good feelings, so much fluffiness. You are so happy to be there with them. So you really want to think about spending your holidays in that corridor. At the end of this corridor, there is a door on which is literally written, God ends here. We don't know why they are there. At some point, the older one is blabbling something about a relic being the only thing that can save them. So she opens the door. 2 seconds, she is taken. She comes back being half dead, drop the key, and tells the younger one, you know what to do. The younger one say, I don't know, I don't want to. Then we are all lost. The old nun dies. Something comes from the door, and we see it's dressed like a nun, and the younger nun commits suicide. That's the opening scene.
Oh god, it is dumb. I think my problem with the opening is, after the really inviting tunnel of doom, you're like, oh, this place isn't ominous, or there's not evil here at all. Ooh, dark tunnel. Ooh, God is dead door. Why did they open the door? Like, wouldn't it? And then, like, she drops the key. She has time to pick up the key and then kind of run away and push a chair. And it's like, if you had time to pick up the key, why didn't you just relock the door? Like, if an ancient evil is behind the door, why did you open it just to go, oh yeah, it's still there, damn it, I'm being eaten? And I was like, were you just checking on it? I think it would be better if you just left it there. If you never opened the door, all this random shit wouldn't be happening. And then, we get to see the nun. I hate the nun. Varric is the least interesting thing in this entire movie, and the least scary thing ever. Like, there is not a hint of anything scary in the nun. And you're like, oh, look, it's a nun. I'm like, you're a big, scary, evil demon. Maybe look a bit scarier than just a nun with bad teeth.
Well, Valak looks like an emo girl dressed up like a nun. And I have so many problems with that because Valak is supposed to be this big demon. He is supposed to have 30 legions of demons under his command. 30 legions means that he could have taken Romania in less than 24 hours. But no, he stays in the abbey, walking around like an emo girl, dressed like a nun, waiting for something. We don't know what, absolutely. But yes, that's all he does. But this is an American movie. And in pure American fashion, we have writers who had no idea how the Catholic Church worked in the 50s, of course. We find ourselves in Romania in 1952 with a priest who is a miracle hunter. And then we realize he's an exorcist in truth. But okay, let's call him miracle hunter. A novice. We don't know why the Vatican decided she was the right person to keep in company in this movie. We still don't know.
Yeah, we never found out.
Oh no, we do. When we realize she has visions. So they are dressed in normal clothes, and that's not something that would have happened in 1950 in Romania. She was a novice. It means she would have been dressed like one all the time to keep her parted from everyone else. Maurice wouldn't have been able to flirt with her because that would have been so taboo and so bad. And he would have never implied that an older man and a younger woman were either father and daughter or lovers escaping from something. So that would have never been happened. But above all, what would have never been happened is that the priest would have never buried the nun who just committed suicide on holy ground, because suicide was one of the worst things you could do in the eyes of the Catholic Church. So no priest would have ever given her the last rites and would have never put her in the ground. That was something so taboo and so wrong that he would have never done that. Okay, let's go on. We find out why the Vatican thought it was a great idea to send her with him. She has visions since she was a young girl. Okay, visions and the Catholic Church have a controversial history. Women with visions were either saints or they were born because they were witches. Yeah, but what I thought about when I learned she had visions from God, I thought about one of the most beautiful figure in history, both history of the world and history of the Catholic Church, Hildegard von Bingen. Hildegard von Bingen was the most well-known seer in history. She was the counselor of the Emperor Frederick I. And she was also the one who told him, the moment he traveled to the Holy Land for the First Crusade, be careful of water. Frederick I died drawing while he was crossing a river in the Holy Land. And she's a saint. She was recognized as a true seer. But the only reason why she wasn't burned as a witch was because she was a noble woman. She was born inside a noble family, and her father was very powerful, very wealthy. So as soon as she began to have her visions, the father took her, put her in an abbey, and she became Mother Superior of that abbey. So I thought about her. But yes, as I said, it's a very controversial history that the church has with people with visions. We learn that the priest has a different story with someone with visions. So he was sent in Lyon, and he met this boy who had visions, but he was possessed, and he died after the exorcism. In pure American fashion, of course, a boy in Lyon, France, during the war was called Daniel. It doesn't make any sense. We didn't want to see this. We wanted to see something a little bit more realistic. So, okay, well, that's another thing I really can't stand in these movies. So American. So American. So the only thing they got right is that at some point the priest and the novice are split, because the priest can't go into the real abbey, because those women could never see a man again after they took their vows. Oh, yoo-hoo! Yeah, that was the only thing they got right, but they only got it right because following one of the most abused cliche in horror movies, at some point the two main characters split because that was perfect. That was what you wanted to do. You are alone in the huge abbey. There is this creepy Mother Superior dressed in black veils that you only realize after a little bit that people speaks to her. She was mummified probably centuries ago, so she was never alive to speak to anyone, but everyone spoke to her. And yes, let's split because that sounds logic and like the right things to do. At that point, I was so fed up. I still don't understand something. When he has the nightmare, he wakes up, he sees the ghost of the boy he has lost after the exorcism. He ends up in a grave, literally. She has to dig him out of the grave. He is literally there. And when he comes out from the grave, he's like, a very powerful evil spirit is at work here. That doesn't explain how you ended up underground, 6 feet under, in a grave already occupied by a skeleton and a lot of books and diaries. I mean,
So convenient.
I know they needed a way for you to find the Duke's diaries, but doesn't it look like a little bit too convenient to you? Really?
Also, why did the evil spirit put him in the grave that had the diaries that could help them? It did them a favour.
Because apparently Valak is an idiot.
Oh, God, yeah.
In every movie where we see Valak, he's an idiot. He gives his name to Lorraine Warren. He gives the diaries to the priest, and yeah, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but he is. Yeah.
Oh,
my
God. This film hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like overtired but couldn't sleep when I watched it. So I think I started making up my own movie because some of this I didn't enjoy. I say it's better than like the Annabelle movies. Now when I say it's better than the Annabelle movies and that, it was alright, that doesn't mean it was good. It didn't mean I would have watched it again. But it's one of those movies where I sat there and started thinking some of the people who worked on this film deserved better. Like, the person who did the cinematography and the location scouting deserved a better movie. Because when this film started and they did the journey to the monastery, I was just amazed by how beautiful the landscape was. Wonderful tracking shots. The overhead shots were gorgeous. I looked forward to whenever there was an overhead shot because it would sweep so beautifully over the landscape. And then when it was doing the abbey, it would sweep so beautifully around the abbey and the architecture was gorgeous. And I was just in love with this place. I was just like, this is somewhere I would go to. Because the architecture is gorgeous, the landscape is gorgeous, the rich greens. Oh, it's exactly my kind of scenery. Like long walks through valleys, maybe there's be springs, then you see the ruins of this gorgeous building. I would love to explore this kind of area. So I was kind of a little bit in love. And I think I glossed over most of the movie because I was so in love with the scenery and the architecture. Even the internal architecture was so interesting, and I'm just like, apart from the Tunnel of Doom, which was stupid, but I loved the old chapel. And the thing is whenever something supernatural started happening, I was like, no, I don't want to see the supernatural. I want to see when it started and when the way it started playing out. I was actually not invested, but I liked the mystery hunter angle. And I think it's because I've watched a series about Vatican mystery hunters or miracle workers, and they go in and they investigate and they debunk. And there's lots of interesting mythology around this idea of people that from the church, this weird little hush hush secret organization that goes in to investigate miracles. And I liked the way it was playing out like an investigation, because I was like, that's what I liked about The Conjuring, the fact that they went full in with the investigatory stuff. So I was like, okay, so they're going to investigate, but in a spiritual way. So they're going to test for certain things. They're going to like get out their books that will like, because obviously if you're a miracle hunter, you're going to have all the key texts on demonology, like spirituality, various cultures, different ones, so you can kind of. And I was looking forward to this investigation. Investigation never came. I was like, oh, I wanted them to be like, okay, so there's been a suicide, so they were going to investigate the cause of her death. And then I was expecting, like, I think I made up my own movie because I went full, like, Sherlock on this. So I was going to be like, I wonder what, like, so the blood on the steps that kept on growing. I'm like, okay, so there's going to be a chemical reaction to, like, a kind of algae. And now that it's raining, it's producing this red goo. And that solves that mystery. So I started solving the mystery of this murder, like the fact that she was apparently lying down and then sat up straight. I'm like, okay, so the chill called rigor mortis, and she was placed in a block of ice. When it melted, she was the other way around. I don't know. I'm not a mystery hunter, so I was like, oh, the three of them are going, and then Frenchie left, and I'm like, no, my Scooby Gang is going a different direction. We've got to investigate this. We've got to debunk the supernatural, only to find out it was something supernatural all along. And it really wasn't as exciting as the movie in my head. And I was just like, oh, we're not actually going to use any of the stuff about miracle hunting. It's like, where's your collection of lots of different, like, alchemaic things that you use to, like, test? So, like, when you get bleeding statues and they go in and they test the blood to see if it's actually blood or if it's not grape juice. Or they, like, it was made by chalk all along, and actually, like, the liquid has come through the pores of the. And I'm like, this is nothing to do with Vatican mystery hunting and Vatican miracle work and debunking, like, religious theories and stuff. This is just stupid. I hated the stuff of Daniel. I was like, don't chase the boy out to the graveyard in the middle of the night. Well, no wonder. And I'm sorry, but if you end up in a grave and you're buried, and then you get out and you find a load of pristine books and journals, I'm like, they've been in the ground for a while. They wouldn't be that pristine. And also, you're a miracle hunter. Why have you not got your own compendium of, like, stuff with you to, like, sort this stuff out? Like, and also, like, if you think there are still nuns in there, but there's no food hasn't been taken and it's, like, rotting away, you'd be like, how come no one has touched the food for months? Like, you'd be like, I bet there's not, yeah, it's like, and I hated the Mother Superior, like, with the veil in front of her. I would have been like, take your veil off. Like, the first thing I would have done would be like, well, that's weird, why has she got a giant veil on her? And Varric is stupid ghosty demon thing that's boring. I'm like, no, go and explore this Vatican. Go and find an old tomb and go, oh my goodness, an ancient evil is buried here. Then they brought in the Templars, and I got a little bit excited because I was like, oh yeah, there's going to be some Templar stuff, and there's going to be an ancient burial. And it's like, they managed to make that boring. It's like, oh no, you managed to make Templars and ancient, like, evil dumb.
Templars that stormed the castle for no reason at all.
Yeah.
So we don't have background stories. We only know that there was an evil duke going totally crazy, and then Templars arrived. Templars didn't work like that.
No.
So, but that's not the only thing that I still am salty about. So we go on north of the host of this podcast. He is dressed exactly like a normal person. So he doesn't have his bags with him. He only has a small bag with a huge cross inside. It's like the Mary Poppins bag, I guess. It's bigger on the inside. It's a TARDIS, in truth. He only has that thing because the morning when they arrives back at the Abbey, after they spend the night in a dependance together, that's another thing that would have never happened. She would have been taken inside the Abbey by the other nuns, and even if they were just ghosts, they would have taken her and taken her from him. They would have never allowed a priest and the novice to sleep into a separated place, house, small house, whatever it was, together. He is dressed like a normal man. At some point, we realize, oh, the nuns are all gone. And that's totally fucked up because basically for centuries, one nun had to pray non-stop to keep Valak trapped inside the tomb when he was resting. So, no more nuns. Who the hell is praying? No one.
No one would have been praying.
We go back. She realizes that she needs to be a real nun because she realized that if they needed nuns praying to keep Balak trapped, she needs to be one so she can actually pray and trap the damn demon again. So she tells him, I'm ready to take my vows, Father. Are you sure? Yes. The scene changed and he is dressed in his holy clothes. Where did you exactly pack those clothes? In your butt? Because that's the only possible explanation, okay? So we go on. Morris is back. We are all happy. The three of them are together. Blah 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 blah. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. We finally find out what the two nuns tried to do. There is a relic that can stop Valak, and if that was true, it would have been the most powerful and the most important relic in the history of the Catholic Church, because it had the blood of Jesus Christ inside. So we find out that what she always thought after a vision is actually the message God was sending to her for years. Mary points out the way. So we see the statue of the Holy Virgin pointing out on a place, and she takes the key, open up a huge block of stone that was untouched for centuries, and it opens up like nothing, like it was just oiled yesterday. And we see this huge relic because it's a bowl made of glass with a cross inside, and inside the cross there is the blood of Jesus Christ. So in that moment, from a non-horror movie, because it's not an horror movie, we could have had pure crack, because the priest put the huge thing around her neck because it has this huge chain. And if she was as goofy as I am, as clumsy as I am, I would have tripped and broken the relic. And oopsie, we can't stop Valak anymore because I destroyed the most important relic in history. Yoo-hoo, go me. So, okay, that didn't happen. What happened is even more ridiculous.
Oh, God.
So what really happened is that Valak and the nun, the new nun, the real one, fought underwater. Valak was sure she was dead. So she grabs her and puts her right in front of his face. And you know something is going to happen because she opens her eyes and she spit a mouthful of blood all over his face, and he starts to burn and to disintegrate. Yes, you heard me right. She had the supposedly blood of Jesus Christ in her mouth, and she spit it on Balak's face. So what happens is that the tomb is closed up again. Balak is back into the abyss where he belongs, blah, blah, blah. But we know that that's not the end of Balak, because the only way Balak is really killed is when Lorraine exorcises him in those 2 minutes of The Conjuring 2. So basically, what really happened in that moment of the movie is that they destroyed the most powerful and the most important relic in the history of Catholic Church for nothing.
Oh, it was so dumb, that scene. So dumb.
And you are like, so you are really telling me that a mortal woman is more powerful during an exorcism than the blood of Jesus Christ.
Oh
And you
God, I hadn't put that together. Yes, yes, and she's not even religious, really. No.
exactly,
Oh, that's
exactly.
it's all very disrespectful. I mean, I'm not religious myself, and I'm definitely not like Catholic, but still, you got to respect other religions and faith. You got to, a little bit of respect for the blood of Jesus Christ. I mean, there's so many problems with this scene. As I said, that the movie I was watching in my head was so good compared to what was going on screen half the time, and I was just like, she's got the relic. She goes underwater. Now, somehow, underwater, while being throttled by a demon, she smashes the glass, sucks the blood out of the cross and into her mouth. If you can't do that underwater, like what did she do? Like smash it on her face? Like if the minute you open your mouth underwater, water will get in it, and then yeah, and then the blood of Christ gets spat on the face, which I think is a bit disrespectful. You can't go around spitting the blood of Christ. The blood of Christ is now in her as well. It's like, shouldn't that have turned her into some kind of holy being? Like, she should have gained superpowers and, like, going, pew, 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 holy light of Christ compels you. Because, I mean, the film was that bad, they might as well have gone that way. Then the blood mixes with the water and all just disappears down into the abyss. And I'm like, couldn't you have tried? Also, this is like some ancient relic. Like, there's no way the Templars would have left it in this place. It would have gone to the Vatican and be like under the most amount of security ever. Like,
Well, we know that at the end the relationship between the Templars and the Church wasn't that good.
yeah.
But yeah, we can give this little concession to this movie because really, I'm sure they didn't even think about that. But yes,
Yeah,
it was convenient for them to have the relic still in that place.
yeah.
So if you want to laugh more, after the movie, she is back in her civilian dresses.
Well, she wouldn't.
No,
She's a nun. She would stay in that.
No, no, that would have never happened. She makes the ground holy again just because she says a prayer on it. No, that's not how it works. If the place was so corrupted, he should have been the one doing a huge rite and a huge ceremony to make it holy again. And the only way the ground could have been made holy again was if they had a relic or something consecrated already to put in the abbey. They didn't because they destroyed the relic.
Yeah.
So
and all the Jesus water is in the abyss.
So the movie is actually a huge American thing that doesn't make any sense. And it wasn't even good. And huge revelation at the end of the movie. Who is the French guy who was with them for almost all of the movie? Yes, he was the one Ed and Lorraine exorcised at the beginning of the Conjuring 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't even know anymore.
Just make sure we know that storyline.
Exactly. That was him. People, I know. You can't believe it. I know. It was huge revelation. And it caught all of us by surprise. I'm sure of that. But don't panic. We still have one more movie to watch because we decided we won't do the Llorona. We can't.
No.
This saga for us will end with Hannibal Comes Home.
Yeah.
And that's painful enough already. So
yeah.
Bear with us, people.
Oh God, no! Oh, this film. I hated the last battle. Like, they should have gone into the church with, like, burning holy sage, holy water, like massive prayers, like to reconsecrate it. And also, it's like there's no nuns in the building anymore, so it's just an empty lot. And it's just like, well, what are you going to do with this empty building? Like, and okay, yes, they needed to make sure it tied in. And so it turns out that Varric managed to possess Frenchie, and Frenchie is the dude that's possessed that gives her the vision of Ed dying and means Varric comes after them. But I'm sorry, but I don't see why Varric is still a nun. I don't understand. It's like if the blood of Christ couldn't get Varric all the way back in hell, and Varric's in Frenchie, like it's just like it's nice to see it all tied together and have an actual like semi-logical reason for it to tie together. I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. I'll believe that. I mean, I still don't believe that Varix has been wandering around that place for thousands of years and hasn't escaped anywhere until they opened a door. Also, they say that she didn't commit suicide, she was a sacrifice. Well, as far as I know, the Catholic Church doesn't do sacrifices. She still committed suicide. Like, that's still a mortal sin. Also, if the point of her jumping out the window and killing herself was so that Varric didn't get a vessel, why didn't she just leave? If Varric is tied into the land and can't escape the abbey, maybe just run around the abbey's grounds, you would just get on a train, go back to the Vatican and go like, this demon is trying to possess me. And then the Vatican can give you an exorcism. Just like...
Or the
you
Vatican
would...
can burn you as a witch.
Yeah.
Because, you are still a woman.
Yeah, true. But the thing is, if she had just left, she wouldn't have got possessed. But so killing herself was a sacrifice to keep Varric in the church? In the abbey? I'm like...
I don't know. I think that when she jumps, the window closes behind her, and that's how he was trapped again.
Okay.
I think it's the only explanation I can give to that scene.
Yeah. It's not very strong.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
I mean, they open the door to let him free for no reason at all, because we see that they don't use that path to find the relic.
No. So they just opened the door. So why did you let it out? You absolute dum-dums. Why did you let it out?
Because they needed a reason.
They needed a plot, basically.
Yeah.
But
basically, because they couldn't think about anything else.
It's just...
And that's stupid.
It is stupid.
And that's so stupid, because actually, if the bombs open back up the hole where Valak was supposed to be trapped, you already had your reason for him to be out of his tomb. So that first scene is useless.
Absolutely pointless. And also, if they dropped bombs on it during World War II, that's not very long ago from when this is set. Like, it would have only been ended for about 4 or 5 years, if that kind of thing, depending, like, on the history of the area. I don't know my history / geography of Romania in the Second World War. But yeah, the bombs would have destroyed the abbey. So how did they fix the abbey so quickly so it's got no bombs? Also, okay, so the bombs open a portal to hell. But they are still just bombs. They're not magic bombs. They're not like magic demon-seeking missiles. They can make a big hole, but you need a ritual to open a portal to hell. Bombs can't... they're not magic bombs. Unless we're to believe that there's some weird, black magic Nazis. But that's a whole other movie.
Oh, yeah, well, but we know the Nazi had 2 secret societies.
Yeah.
One looking for Thor and Odin.
Yes.
And all the gods in the Norwich pantheon. And the other society was looking for the Longinus spear.
Yeah.
So we know that the Thule and the Ahnenerbe were created for those 2 reasons. But yes, I think they just meant that the bomb open a physical hole in the ground, and just because the nuns were still there praying and praying and praying, that was why Valak was still trapped. Then in 7 years because the war ended in 1945 and the movie started in 1952. In 7 years, the numbers of the nuns grew lower and lower and lower, and then only two were left. And of course, you can't force two women to pray 12 hours a day
No.
without stop. So they needed something, someone, that one of them had to leave. But I don't think that committing suicide or sacrificing yourself was the living you were meant to go to look for help. So
Yeah,
whatever, it was a huge mess.
it
It,
was.
does- it, it
There's,
didn't make any sense.
it's just got so many holes in it that you think if there's an ancient evil and the nuns are praying to keep it in, wouldn't the Vatican be informed? Wouldn't it know that there's an ancient evil over there? Shouldn't they know this stuff rather than like waiting for someone to commit suicide and go, oh, there's been a suicide, we better investigate? How about we investigate the disappearing nuns, the bombs, a site that might have had a holy relic, a site that Templars it's had enough history to make it a site of interest. Right.
Yes. I mean, you had a bunch of Templars storming a castle. You had probably notes and diaries and reports of what happened after they stormed the castle. And then the Vatican should have realized, hey, but we miss an ancient relic.
Yeah.
Does anyone know where it ended up? Because really, it got the blood of Jesus Christ inside. I think it's pretty precious. So perhaps we should try to realize, to understand where is it now. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
This movie has so full of holes that it looks like Swiss cheese. Yeah, people. We didn't like it, and you probably realized it by now. So if Zoe doesn't have any more salt,
No. No, I'll just keep
okay.
playing the movie that was in my head. That was a better time.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed that one so much more than what I watched. So thank you for listening, people. And if you want to tell us what you think about this movie, you can join us on Spotify, Beneath Your Skin, or you can drop a line on our Twitter account at beneath_your. Join us on our website on Pinecast or on our Facebook page. Thank you for listening, and we hope we didn't scare you too much. Bye-bye.
It's always a pleasure, Gaia. I like it when we're on the same page about a movie, especially one that the more you think about it, the more it hurts you to think about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and for now, bye-bye.